instructions too, but yeah, I had like 17 copies of one page, 30 copies of the second page, just like nonsensical.
You ever seen a paper copy that had a JPEG extension? I was like, how did you do that?
Why?
I mean, and honestly, if I get an 8.5 by 11, I expect it to not have any extension. It should be a dot, maybe a PDF. It's all kind of.
Yes. I bet it did.
You were putting them out or something like that, maybe not.
You brought your own. Yep, got it.
I did get.
No, that's Alice, Thursday night.
It's great.
All right, if we go ahead and get this meeting called to order, it's gonna be a long one, so you and I are right. It's not gonna be that long.
That's right, that's right.
But before we do that, I'll let Ms. Jill take roll call as we let our speakers present. So, Ms. Ely, you're the first one that walked us in, so why don't you start?
I don't have any. Okay.
Thank you.
I didn't get a chance to so let's start. I'll get it. Thank you.
All right, so thanks for letting me come and present today. My name is Dr. Shamil Ely. I am the Associate Vice President of Outreach at UCA, and I'm also a founding member and the president of Women's Business Showcase Women's Leadership Network. And so this entity was so gracious to fund us $1,000 for promotional materials for our showcase this year. And so I'm just going to kind of go through some of the things that that would be of interest to you. And I think in the back is actually the survey results, the summary. So I printed that for you. But our mission is basically to empower women to live authentically and become agents of influence in our community. And so we do that through a variety of ways, but one of the ways is the Women's Business Showcase. And so this is our 5th year to actually host this on campus at UCA. You can see last year's attendance was 186 women. So this year we had over 225 women to attend. So it greatly increased with our promotions. About 25% of our attendees were from outside of Conway, and you can kind of see that breakdown there. And there's, again, some more breakdown on our survey results. Of those results, only about 65 people filled those out. So I do want to put that in kind of context. That's kind of how it goes when you got a line and everybody's kind of coming through the door. And so we do our best to try to get those filled out. So why is something like this important for our community? The Women's Foundation of Arkansas did a study last year and found that there are a lot of barriers for women in the state in the workforce. And so some of the solutions that they mentioned was to provide resources and access for entrepreneurs. And so this is exactly what our Women's Business Showcase does. So on the second page, what I've passed out is we actually selected 50 plus women-owned businesses. And so it's a expo type fair for them. As you can see, some of the businesses have been in business for a long time, like Bledsoe, all the way up to like Oak Street Automotive, who is a fairly new women-owned automotive shop in Conway. And so it gives them a platform and just, a place to come and network with other women and get their name out there. We do allow for scholarships. So for those who are newly formed businesses or even nonprofits, women-led nonprofits, we do allow them to come for free. And so we are really intentional about making it inclusive for all women to attend them. On the next page, I have some of the promotions that you guys sponsored. So the first is an ad we had in 501 Life. We were also featured on KTV News. We printed flyers for downtown and canvas downtown as promotions. Of course, we had a sponsorship board. You can see lots of social media posts there. But one of the things that we do include for our women is to make one of those individualized posts. It's kind of in the corner on the right-hand side, and each woman-owned business had their own post that went out. And so it's really neat to get to see them. And some of them, it's the first time they've seen themselves in a professional capacity like that. And so it was neat to be able to offer that for them and help them to promote themselves. The last page there, we did produce these shirts as our fundraiser. We are a new nonprofit in the area, and so for those that don't know our little background, we started as a program out of Outreach at UCA and now have just outgrown that structure. Now we are our own nonprofit as of August. We announced that, and so we're out there beating the bushes and fundraising like, a lot of the other nonprofits in the area, and so this support was really great for us. All of the funds that you guys provided were donated back to the community through Conway Copies, Southern Teas, Jennifer Lopez, who is a local women-owned business who jumped out and leaped and started her own business last year. She was a part of our Women's Leadership Academy graduate, and so it's nice now to get to provide that support for them full circle. And some of the top vendors, when we surveyed our guests, were Blue Barn Bakery, Classic Touch, Kindred, and then Mama Shell Designs, which is a brand new business out there. And then you can read some of the comments. A lot of the comments said it's too early to tell. Of course, when you send this out right after an event, they haven't had time to see what the impact would be. But years later, they always come back and tell us it's one of their favorite events. They make a lot of money for it, a lot of connections. When even scheduled a spa day that day, and so it's always a really neat experience. So we're looking forward to 2024. We'll have a new one. The problem we have now is that we've outgrown McCastle Ballroom, so we're looking for a new spot to host because it was quite cramped, 225 people in there this time. So it is a good problem to have. So we're looking forward to making even greater impact and hopefully not having such a big waiting list for the next time. So that's what you guys are looking for.
Perfect. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Appreciate your report.
Okay. Thank you. I appreciate the opportunity to be here today to report on some UCA athletic events that were granted funding from the A&P Commission. My name's Matt Whiting. I'm Associate Athletic Director at UCA. And I've got a few events I want to talk about that we hosted that were granted funding. First, the Michelle Short Memorial Classic, which we hosted a softball tournament in our field in late February. We had 4 teams participate, including us. Estimated total number of attendance for that entire tournament, a 3-day tournament, was 900. So that includes parents and fans that were also staying overnight and dining in Conway. Second event I want to talk about is our Adam Brown Memorial Classic, which is also another softball tournament, actually a back-to-back weekend. So it's great. It's a busy time for our staff, but it's a great time for softball. In the Adam Brown Memorial Classic, we had 5 total teams participating, staying 1 to 2 nights in Conway. And the estimated total attendance for that tournament was 1,300. Moving on, our Richard Martin Invitational Junior Track Meet. It's held at our track complex. We had 10 total teams participating, and number of attendance. It's kind of a come and go all day. About 1,000 people in attendance for that track meet. So great event. And then finally, our summer tournaments and camps. We attracted over 2,600 participants to our camps this summer. And so camps were baseball, men's soccer, women's soccer, football, volleyball, softball, men's basketball, and women's basketball. The 2,600 number that I mentioned does not include parents and families that came for tournaments and camps. So that 2,600 is participants only, but many of these parents and families are staying overnight and dining in our restaurants here in Conway. Finally, the last event I want to talk about is our Sugarberry Invitational Volleyball Tournament, which we held in our Print Center. We had 3 total teams participate in that, staying 1 to 2 nights in Conway. And the estimated total attendance for that was 900 fans that we brought in for that tournament on our campus. So a great event there, and we are very, very appreciative of the support of the A&P Commission, and we'll be happy to answer any questions that you may have.
And that you always bring good information back to us. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
No, Derek's with the Parks Department, so.
I'm just checking.
Great.
Hi, everybody. I'm Marge Bentley. I'm the CEO of the Arkansas PBS Foundation. We are the nonprofit fundraising partner to the network, and the A&P Commission was kind enough to, for the second year in a row, to provide support for our Family Day event. This year's Family Day event took place at the end of September on what I think may have been one of the hottest September days on record, but we still saw attendance of approximately 5,000 people, which is pretty extraordinary. Thankfully, we had a lot for families to do inside as well as outside, so people could take advantage of both spaces. We did do surveys. We got surveys back from approximately, or reflecting approximately 10% of the attendees. Given the heat, we felt like that was a good return on those. And what we found was that 52%, little over 52% indicated that they would be dining in Conway on that same day. That actually represents an increase of about 4.3% over what our respondents told us last year. So that was great. And we asked them if they knew where they would be eating. Some of them mentioned chains and franchises, but a number of them also mentioned locally owned enterprises like Stobie's, Larry's Pizza, that kind of thing. We estimate that approximately little over 30% of the attendees came from outside of Conway or Little Rock / North Little Rock. So we had 55.6% who listed Conway as their home, 13.9% who listed Little Rock or North Little Rock. So that meant, again, more than 30% coming from elsewhere. And they listed everything from nearby locations like Mayflower, Maumelle, Marlton, Valonia, Greenbrier, and then with some coming as far away as Benton, Hot Springs, Pine Bluff, Malvern, and El Paso. So what we're seeing is that when we've got a family-friendly event where families can spend a whole day and not have to reach into their pocketbooks, we get people coming in from quite a distance. We had just under 20 corporate and business sponsors this year, so the A&P Commission was in good company with Crane Buick GMC, with the Pediatrics Plus, the Children's Clinic of Greenbrier and Conway, Come and Go, Casey's, forgive me, I don't remember all of them off the top of my head. First Community Bank, Central Arkansas Entertainment, Velda Looters, Caldwell Banker, RPM, Frey Aldenhoven Heating and Cooling, H&N Architects, and Tokuson USA. So really nice broad range of support. Very proud to have your name listed among those. And we also had around 20 community partners who came in and provided activities for the kids. So everything from the Conway Fire Department bringing a fire truck, which is always a huge hit, to the Faulkner County Library, to the Conway Symphony Orchestra, to the Little Rock Marathon and the Little Rock Zoo. So all kinds of things for the kids to participate in and make really a full day of it. So tremendously grateful to the A&P Commission for your ongoing support of this. And we just see this event continuing to grow as we move forward. We have families already asking us when next year's Family Day will be. So with that, happy to answer questions.
you have a date set for next year?
We don't. We typically try to wait until UCA sets its football schedule.
It'll be released this
Because-
week.
Is that, you have that set for next year now or not yet?
It's gonna be released this week.
Oh, release this week, thank you. Because we do try to do that because we try not to be, competing in terms of traffic and parking and infrastructure and all those kinds of things, so.
No problem. Any other questions? Thank you very much.
Great,
very
thank
much,
you,
Mark.
appreciate you all.
Thank you.
President, y'all are more welcome to stay, but you are,
You
you
do not have to,
do
no.
not have to, because it's gonna be.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.
I think it's.
Just because you live in PBS, thanks, Matt.
Thank you.
We're gonna do the October and November minutes on our December meeting, so. Financial? Financial.
Yeah, I did include a copy of the budget. It's in the back of your folders. This month's meeting. First packet, paperclip packet. Balance in our operating account is $1,554,380.70. Our balance in our collections account is $1,048,337.85. And the current balance in CD is $488,201.74. Look to the, well, really the third page is better to look at, but this month, October 31st, we are in the black, 75,564.27. This current month last year, we were in the red, 661,446.28. That was because of special projects. So year to date, we are at $618,613.99 to the black. And again, the rest of the journal ledger and the bank statement are just backup proof to the financials. Anybody have any questions?
Any questions? Sorry.
No.
Long pieces?
Yeah.
I can
Go to the long sheet.
Yeah.
We'll go long sheets first. Yeah. Okay, the first two pages are just allocation to the city and to the AMP commission. You know, it's broken down. Page 3, total collections for October of 2023 were $528,606.23, which consisted of $483,632.87 prepared food and $44,973.36 hotel, which is up over 2022 by 6.02% up over 2021 by 16.58%. Okay, the fourth page is our delinquent collections. We had a total of $21,447.22, $21,091.14 consisted of prepared food tax, those delinquent, and $356.08 of hotel tax, which I think was just an STR, which consisted of 4.06% of our total collections. Fifth page is the collections excluding delinquents, which were total $507,159.01. The $460,541.73 is prepared food. $44,617.28 is hotel tax. That's up over last year by 5.49%. And the last page is pay simple payments, which total $233,421.33, which was $201,591.32. Prepared food and $31,830.01 hotel, which was 44.16% of collections. And that consisted of 202 food and 39 hotel. And up over last year by 18.93%.
Up over last year.
Getting there, Andy, we're getting there.
That's right.
Make a motion for approval of the financials.
Second.
I got a motion from Sheila and a second from Mike. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you.
Guys are delinquent.
And this has got some Airbnb stuff on it.
Yes,
Quite a few.
We've not seen, so that's
Quite
why
a
this
few.
list
Mhm.
appears to be a little longer than normal.
A lot of new ones.
There are some new faces.
Mhm.
Is Crab King still open?
So,
Yes, sir.
Smell that crab when I walk by there.
Amazing. That's how we ask.
We will be issuing him a final notice.
Okay, thank you.
Status on Fat Burgers, and I mean, I know the doors were closed.
Looks like there's even remodeling going on in there.
We haven't contacted them.
I read something.
No, they weren't on the list last time, so they at one point had gotten everything okay, and so now they're showing up again, so
Okay,
we'll get back out there.
okay.
Most of these are new. Hannah, was issued a citation. Can I speak from here?
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Was issued a citation and they did pay their citation, but they still need to now catch up on their taxes. Loans Valero, I'm not sure what's going on there, but they, the next step with them will be a citation.
Is that what was the Valero on Oak Street at
It's a,
the interstate?
it's on Harkrider,
Okay.
515 Harkrider.
Over near Walmart. Or down the other direction, down south.
There's the Valero right
515
here.
would be- I was gonna say there's
Here.
one.
Skyline if it's past one.
Okay.
Oh,
Yes,
the one
it's just
in the
right past there at the
grandstands.
curb on the right, yeah, yeah.
Explains a little.
This Jonathan's Airbnb, this is, we're just not having any luck in, the B&B is also his home address. And so we've been to the door, we've mailed, we're just not having any luck right now.
These STRs are hard.
Yeah, yeah, but most of these are new. And we just have a few to clean up from last time, but.
Well, Big D's, charcuterie and more, that is the same people that on the Magic Food Bus.
Yeah.
It's no big surprise.
Mm.
Chef Mary Ann's, that was
Your girlfriend's best
Best
friend's
Kitchen, right? Chivas Locos is probably always gonna be on here. Joyful Baking, they probably just have a 0 and they probably shouldn't even be on here, but.
Well, it shows a 1062. I think she lives in Cersei.
Right.
But if you tried to make a reservation with Jonathan's Airbnb, he'd respond.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
Good point.
We're still trying to learn how to do this Airbnb thing.
I got a question for y'all. I'd like to poll the commission. For these STRs, a lot of times we do have trouble finding the right person at the right time and be able to communicate. We have, in the past, as a department, made a decision not to put any paperwork on the door of the short-term rental. Just to avoid embarrassment, they have a client show up, it makes them look bad, and puts a bad taste in their mouth working with us. But that would get their attention. I would like to keep trying to track the owner down and avoid posting things on the rental property. Is that how y'all feel as well?
No, I would feel.
Until
Until
they
Sure,
prove
and
that they come in forward.
Exactly.
Yes, I
This
mean.
is the only one that we've had just a stonewall on.
This is one.
And for this one, it's the same address as his home address, so it's a little bit different there. I don't know if he's just doing a short-term rental in a bedroom or.
Maybe put a mirror there for him to say,
Yeah.
it's you.
So, this one we did handle a little bit differently, but like I said, from the get-go on this, our kind of department policy has been, don't put paperwork on the short-term rental. We've never really had to before, but it's more of these things that show up, we might have to do something to get attention.
I'm okay with it, with not doing it, until you can't find them for another 60
Exactly.
days.
Yeah, I agree.
I agree. Well, I would say even moving forward, I think it would be appropriate to put that on the application so that they know, like, if you don't comply within this time frame, then this will happen.
I agree. I think they should have at least a heads up to where they
Right.
can see it's a possibility, so.
No, thank you very much.
Thank you. Yeah.
At this time, I'll take a
I'll make
motion
a
for the
motion for our
30,
standard
60,
30, 60, 90 days.
I don't have the paragraph in front of me. I don't have it in December. We got a motion by Sheila, Melissa second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Now, you can go ahead and do this thing, redo it.
Well, there are some other things that are, you probably need to look at before you approve the overall budget. So we can come back to that if you're okay with it. In that case, I'll go ahead and talk. So had a very busy month putting together your funding packets. Melissa was asking about it a little bit. It's being her first time to look through it. And I said, it's shocking how little effort some people put into it and how hard it is for adults, business owners to follow simple instructions. So I'm trying to think of how I can potentially rewrite some of the funding guidelines to make that more clear, just because the paperwork involved.
Kid friendly.
Yes, with putting these applications together for you, it takes a lot of time. But other than that, I spoke at a session during the Chamber's Business Expo along with UCA, the Downtown Partnership, and the Fire Department regarding the eclipse. And I wanted to bring these to show you all because the eclipse glasses that we ordered delivered over the last month. So I have 25,000 of these at our office, and
Anything.
they are, I was shocked at how black-out they are. I actually went outside and looked up at the sun, and, well, you could only see the sun. They are
NASA approved.
dark, they are NASA approved.
We are on
So-
TV, people. Just let you know.
We're all over here going,
For the viewers that are watching us.
So,
Test them out, Travis.
we'll be giving them to all school-aged children in Conway, as I think I'd mentioned to you before. We'll be giving them to hotels, visitors that come in to the office.
Not till April, right?
We'll get them distributed before that, but yes, the
I thought
event
it
is
was-
not until April 8th.
I'm just saying, most kids are gonna lose theirs.
Mike's gonna lose his.
I'll get them to the schools before then, and then I think their plan is to give them out to the students maybe the Friday before school, so. That was
I
a
noticed
fun
something in
thing.
the paper the other day that kind of surprised me about what the highway department was doing. They're closing with 5 or 9 highways during the course of that time. So that kind of shocked me. I never expected highways to close, but I knew that would be impactful for something. I saw like, I don't know if it was 5 or 9, they were talking about being closed for 2 days or something like that. Really horrible, really. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I haven't heard about that
I read
in
something.
and around Conway, so,
Well, yeah, I think this is up around Mountain View. I'm
okay,
scared of things getting too like Fox Mountain. I
sure.
read something up there, so it just kind of
It-
surprised me.
You
It
can't
should
see
be a
that.
big deal.
Yeah.
They're dark. I also attended a benchmarking trip to Oklahoma City, talked about some potential big projects, ideas that we could bring back to Conway that have been successful there. And I know some of you were able to attend, and I thought it was worthwhile. I hope y'all
Fascinating.
thought that as well. Surprisingly, after last month's meeting, I believe, where you approved funding for the Hendricks Ice Rink, there was a lot of attention about that. Somebody at the UCA newspaper was writing an article and called to interview me about it, so I had to break it to them that it wasn't a big permanent ice rink and the city was not putting it on, that you had just given a very small amount of money to assist them with promotions of the event. So I directed them to Hendricks for any further questions.
Has Hendricks ruled out hockey as a sport?
I think so.
No, they haven't ruled it out. It hasn't been ruled out.
Just an interesting fact that I came across while going through the funding requests, that since 2017, which I've put together this spreadsheet before that, but it became more detailed in 2017. The number of requests that we get has grown from 50 to 62. Some of those are new. Some of them are the same people producing more events each year, but some of them are completely new. And in 2017, we awarded less than $100,000 in grant funding. And in 2024, we're set to provide over $150,000. So not only are events growing in the numbers, we're also giving out more money. So I think all that's very positive for the commission.
I think you're also redirecting, the inquiries are even bigger than that.
Yes. Yeah, I think, there's a learning curve with figuring out what is appropriate for you to fund versus what is just something that is a good, worthwhile event, but maybe is not appropriate for the AMP Commission to be giving money to, based on what the commission's intent is. I've also been working on a marketing plan for 2024, updating that spreadsheet, working with sales reps, reviewing proposals, and that will continue at least through January. So the final thing I wanted to mention, UCA is bidding on a playoff game. If they get that bid, the game would take place on November 25th, which is the Saturday after Thanksgiving. In the past, the commission has supported that bid when they've been in this position before. I looked at the event incentive fund, and there's still over $15,000 left in that budget for 2023. So once they find out if they got that bid or not, we'll continue discussions to see what's appropriate for the commission to contribute from that fund, which that's what it's intended for. That's why we created that fund.
And that's
to begin
win,
with.
lose, or draw from UCA. I mean, they don't have to be in it, the host. Is that correct?
Oh, they do.
Yeah.
It would
They
be
do have to in
UCA
it.
versus
Okay.
someone else, but they are bidding against other locations.
There's,
For that
so
game.
everybody kind of throws in their bid, and the people in the first round, the seeded teams, without getting too sportsy about everything, the seeded teams have a bye. They will start matchmaking non-seeded teams playing in round one. They'll try to do that regionally. We've been in this position before, and the balance left in the event incentive fund is more than sufficient to what our historical exposure has been. Just as a review, you commit amount,
then some honorary and offsetting revenue comes from the NCAA, and then all of your ticket revenue goes towards your commitment. But because it's a football game thrown on, 1 week's notice, sometimes ticket revenue won't cover, and then we've historically said, we'll split it with you up to so far. But we have, so you don't know exactly what the number is, but there's more currently in the amount than what we've ever been exposed to in the past, so.
So that's all I had for now.
Looking back. Kind of
Yeah.
tease there, I got you.
Oh, sure.
Thank you, Rachel.
Well, we're slowing down, obviously, as we kind of head into the holiday season, but we did have several events in November. The first weekend in November, on November 4th, we hosted 2D Sports Fall State Softball Tournament. That was the first time that they had hosted anything with us. I thought it went really well. They're already on the books for next year, so that was good. On November 10th, 11th, and 12th, we hosted the CTC Fall Tennis Classic, which had over 50 players that played in that tournament, which was a 3-day event. And the expo this past weekend, we had Bella Rustina Antique Show. But we have been working over the course of the last, say, 5 or 6 weeks, kind of working on our schedule for next year. So recruiting all of our tournaments and things like that. In my opinion, as far as how things look on paper, it's probably one of the better years that we've had in quite some time. We retained all of our large tournaments from this past year. The World Series is coming back. The National Hook Play Tournament's coming back, Highland. So some of your big tournaments, we retained all of them. But some new things that are coming next year on the baseball side of things, Daniel McVay is bringing his 12 AAA and 13 AAA state tournament in June. We're robbing that from Bryant.
Love it.
Bill Rolark is bringing his super regional NIT in May. That's historically been in Cabot. That recruits from multiple states, and then, of course, all over the state here, too. The USSSA Super NIT in September is coming from Northwest Arkansas, and will be in Conway next year. We picked up 2 state tournaments on the fast pitch side of things. USA Softball and 2D Sports Softball will be hosting their state tournaments here. Kind of a new one that I thought was interesting. We worked with CBC. We'll be hosting what they call a college stampede, where basically it'll be over 20, probably 20 colleges will come here to Conway. They can't necessarily play a tournament, but you can arrange to where that they can play multiple matches with multiple colleges. So that'll be in October of next year, 20 colleges in town for multiple days. I think that's, that's a good thing. We worked with CBC Softball too. We submitted a bid to host the AMC Conference Tournament in 2025. We'll find out in January of next year if we were awarded that. We heard that it was us and one other location that kind of made the final cut list, I guess you'd say. And then last week we met with the director of Arkansas State Soccer Association about bringing some soccer tournaments here to Conway as well too. He seemed interested in the idea of some kind of big tournaments that have always been hosted in Fort Smith and in Burns Park. He was interested in maybe bringing them to Conway, more centrally located. So
those fields shouldn't flood like Burns Park, right?
Right.
That's a selling point. So anyway, so hope to have some soccer tournaments lined up for next year as well.
Thank you.
Good job, Derek.
Denise is not gonna be here, but she sent a text saying that she 3 permits last month and no short-term rentals. So that's what she had for her report.
And no phone calls or.
No phone calls. She's tied up right now, so she couldn't.
Sorry if we can't make it down. If anyone cares, we issued 3 AMP permits this month and 0 STRs. I haven't even talked to anyone. Not an STR this month, no calls or apps.
All right, if nothing else, let's move on to the fun part, new business.
That's me. Yeah, Rachel, you know a lot of the background of this. I believe the sign one originally went in and its original funding.
Yes,
And if you
so,
want to kind of cover that, and I'll jump in with what we got next.
So I honestly don't even remember what year it was, but the commission paid for the construction of the Welcome to Downtown Conway sign. As I'd mentioned to you all, there's some maintenance required to it. I have quotes from 2 different sign companies for replacing the C emblem on the sign. I don't know if you've noticed or not, but they're cracked and just, they don't look good. They need to be replaced. One quote came in at $1,196. Another quote came in at $835.75. So I view the companies as pretty equal. I assumed that you would want to go with the lower option, but wanted to give you the chance to voice an opinion on that.
Quality you think will be just as good with either one?
One is from Little Rock Sign, Conway Sign, and the other's from Curtin Sign, which they are both reputable companies that provide quality work. So,
I would say go with the lower.
Yeah, I agree, right? I agree with that too.
okay. And I think I'd also mentioned to you that the lighting portion of it was, well, it was really, really expensive the way it was originally designed. And so I think that's what Spencer has some more information on.
Back in March, it was actually back in February, I started trying to work. Oh, for those of you who don't know me, there are a few new faces here. My name is Spencer Clausen. I'm the director of the Department of Public Works. So that is code enforcement, which is Kim, and also the physical plant. And kind of in between all that, I'll work with contractors and subcontractors trying to get work for the city done. And this was kind of part of that. So I was able to meet with a few electricians. The thing is, right now, this bid that you have in front of you is from Syntec. Syntec, we work with them a lot. They're very competent. They do good work. And part of this bid here, if you've got this paperwork in front of you, it separates the lighting, the fixture package from the work. Okay, so basically what that means is the lighting package will be purchased outright without any electrician's markup on it. So it should save a little bit of money with that. Now, the way when that was put in, I always thought that it was a backlit sign, kind of like a marquee. You know, the lights were in there, as light bulbs were protected from the weather. That's not how it's done. There's 8 rows of LED lights on front of it that shine up, okay? And I have learned through doing this that there's a lot of light pollution. There's lots of studies that go into this to figure out the right angle and stuff. It keeps planes from crashing. There's all sorts of reasons on why these lights have to be angled a certain way, and they have to be at just a certain width, and they've got to have the correct angle. So there's a lot of science that goes into this that I've learned. The important thing to know is the lights that are up there now, of the 8 on each side, I believe around 4 to 5 on each side are completely gone, they're out, and the other ones are failing. Those lights were put on back when, we all know how light bulbs have gotten so much better over the past just few years, and light fixtures included. So the way these were done is it was basically a box with LED strips in it, and it was silicone at the top. Okay, now I do believe that they weren't fabricated on site. They were from the manufacturer like that. That silicone is given up, they hold water, and there is an element of danger to it. That's part of the reason that we started looking at this. The lights that are up there now can't be purchased and they can't be replaced. The way this was wired in, it's from my understanding of talking to these electricians, and I'm not an electrician myself, this was done kind of an odd way. But when it's redone, it will be done a correct way, in that if a light goes out in the future, it'll be easy just to replace that one fixture. Okay. So the total amount is $34,515. That's all in. That's the electrician's fees in addition to the fixture package. We worked with Bell and McCoy on getting all the appropriate lights that are needed. If you've noticed on Arnold Innovation, at the bottom, they've got these LED strip lights that shine up on the building now. Okay, those are very similar to what we're going to do. They have long warranties, and they're reliable, they're good, it's good manufacturers, and that's the same manufacturer that we'll be getting these lights for to put on the sign. The sign is a very important part to the city. It's really kind of the gateway into West Conway through downtown, not only downtown, but into the West Conway. And it's kind of looked bad for a while. And I do look forward to being able to get this fixed. So if you have any questions, I'll be glad to take them. Good? Yeah. All right. Appreciate y'all.
Thank you. Good
Thanks a
job.
lot.
Good job.
I think
Or
it
the
would
one.
be helpful if you had one, and I think it would be appropriate for this to come out of your special projects fund, because, I mean, you have plenty of money in
Right.
there, and this is the
Talked
type
about
of
that the
thing
other
that
day.
it was
Right.
designed for. That's what was used to build the sign originally.
I need a motion and a second for additional funds for the lighting.
Motion made.
Second.
I have a motion from Mike, second from Sheila. All in favor, say aye. Any opposed? Thanks, Spencer.
Yeah, thank you.
Good seeing you again.
Yeah, good to be here.
So I don't know if y'all want to talk about the chamber agreement next and then go back to the budget. I probably should have put them in a different order on the agenda. Sheila let me know at the beginning of the meeting that Charles had a couple of questions regarding the contract that I had submitted to you all last month, and I sent it to you again last week to review. He stepped out, so he's not.
did.
Could,
Yeah,
Oh,
okay,
sorry.
thanks. Rachel, free, I don't want to interrupt, but we're gonna go ahead and head out. We've
Oh, sure.
got some things we need to respond to, so thank y'all very much.
Thank you.
Uh-huh.
do you have heartburn doing these
No,
photos?
only get one.
No,
Contract photos?
That's right.
no.
Vince,
Well, I just wanted to add,
I have a happy Thanksgiving.
Oh,
Yes.
thanks. Y'all as well.
Take care.
I thought I made enough copies, but evidently not.
before I forget, his questions, which Sheila's passing out to you, most of them were things that we had hashed out in detail in 2022. So when I resubmitted this, I did not include all of that red detail
details,
again,
okay.
since it had been approved that way the year before. So I hate that he's not here to.
I know, yeah.
And there is a new attorney on staff at the chamber, and so she had also reviewed it. So anyway, I don't know how you all want to
We can forward that
proceed with that, or,
detailed passage that I have. As they do this.
yes, I can do that.
On contracts, if there are changes on it, I'd rather take a look at it for a while, if we could.
That's why I gave it to you last month.
But you said you had changes on it.
No, not, I did
No.
not. I gave it to you with the changes last month. And then Charles reviewed it. No. Charles reviewed it since
I thought
then.
you were talking addition.
But I'll send you all this email that Jamie dug up, just for reference.
It speaks to his, on item number 2, section number 3. Very little detail in this section, such as how many employees we provide, exactly what they would do and where they would do it. We've got, those of you who were on the commission when we did the rewrite in 2022, we've got all that spelled out, and Rachel will be sending that out there, and it's really, really spelled out. And at that point, it was, well, let's just put the letters that are in the agreement. So let's just put, section 3, letter A, letter B, letter C through H, I think. Well, what she's about to send is the marked up version, which has the letter A through H, and then a lot of red letter detail. So we had it in there. We took it out in 2022, but all the working details are still the same, and so we can all look at those or
Well, and I
put it in
think,
there as listed or not.
yeah, and I think the number 1 where he's talking about the expending before the agreement is executed, and we're looking at executing it January the 1st, so I don't think there's really any expenditures per se that we're looking at before that point anyway. So I knew that one, I was just kind of like,
Those were all covered in the
yeah,
2023 contract.
exactly, yeah. And then section number 3, which is in section 11, I had looked at that too. And he's just basically saying there that it should specifically permit the commission to terminate at any time for any reason, and it looks like here, well, it says without penalty upon default by the chamber. Yeah. Well, and it's talking about the opportunity for cure has passed. So I guess what he's saying is where it looks like in number 11, we're, I guess, talking about cure and default. He's basically saying that it should terminate at any time for any reason. So, yeah.
Andy, what email address do you want to use? For some reason, yours is the only one that is not auto-populating.
He doesn't know.
He doesn't know.
Pick one.
He's got several.
Band 6.
If he doesn't get it, he'll call me.
Send it to Conway Court.
Okay,
Then he'll come
Andy
at
at
me,
Conway.
come at
Andy
my
at
house and ask me
Conway.
about it.
Okay. That is what it was trying to make me do, but I was like, that is too simple.
Hey, sometimes don't look for the easy way.
Okay, I just sent that to you all, so.
And he probably wasn't aware that, of course, you know how attorneys are.
I think we discussed that all in 2021 for the 2022 agreement,
Right.
so. If we want to go through the funding requests. What do y'all think on that? That's fine.
Which package
Okay,
you wanna
let's
do first?
start with the smaller one first, which is the event incentive portion. And Derek was extremely helpful, especially with this portion, because as he told y'all just a few minutes ago, some events or some organizations are hosting less events in 24, but they're higher quality events. And then like Case, for example, Derek said is working with some of the newer people to help them make their events better. And so we have a few more kind of different organizations requesting funds. But then it doesn't equal out to that much different in actual money, so. Were there any questions that you all had when looking through it? I used to, in the olden days, we would go through these line by line and talk about every amount. And the last couple of years, you all
Yes.
had decided that we could you would review them in advance. You would let me know if you had questions, if there was any discussion needed, and then you would vote on the sheet as a whole. So if you were good with doing that, I am
Never
too.
miss out on all that.
Lucky them.
Yeah.
So if there's any discussion or any questions on any of these, let me know.
I think specifically on the event incentive fund, I mean, that's worked wonderfully. And we just kind of let you run with that, so I don't see any reason to do anything different. So I would make the motion to approve this particular piece of it.
Second.
Got a motion from Sheila, second from Andy to approve the incentive fund budget. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? See how quick?
That was easy. I like it.
We appreciate your work.
Yes, really, it's made it a
Yeah.
lot
Yeah.
easier. Yes.
I know, it's a lot easier to read on a computer when you can kind of blow it up. and,
Yeah.
Well, I'm limited by our paper size. Okay, now I am sure there will be questions on this one as it is a lot more complicated than the other. So you all would like to start at the top, you just let me know. If you have questions.
the big item is that number 3,
Yes,
105. Good Lord.
yes,
Sorry.
yes.
Subtract that out from the
Yeah.
line.
That raised a lot of questions for me as well.
Mhm.
There were several reasons that I just don't feel like it's appropriate
Mhm.
for the commission to support that event
Mhm.
specifically.
Yes.
One being that's not in Conway, and then additionally, the way the application was filled out and turned in did not give me a high level of faith in their ability to produce
Mhm.
a quality event. Because this application, it's really pretty simple.
It is.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And
For
if
most.
the questions should be pretty simple for you. And if you can't take the time and effort, especially when asking for an
Put
amount
that
of
much
money
money.
that large
Mhm.
to put in a quality
Mhm.
application, then anyway.
I
Yes.
understand.
To
That
be fair,
really,
it would be really hard to demonstrate
Yes.
how you were gonna make that much money. So that application
Exactly.
would be really hard.
Sure, it would be. You're right.
Yeah.
so as you can see, she's giving us information all the way to
Right.
2020. So it's usually,
Mhm.
even though they always ask for more than they got last year, it looks like Rachel tries to keep it as it been for the last couple of years. So this is why it's so helpful and makes it go so much quicker. That you can kind of look at the approved versus request versus the 22, what she thinks recommended. Approved last year was 148. She recommends 130.15. I'm looking at that right?
Yes.
Mhm.
And, throughout the year, there are always any of those kind of lime green events, those were all funded outside of this funding
Right.
period. So there are always things that come in throughout the year, and I try to leave a little bit of cushion there so that you have money to give out
And
to
you did
those
put on the
events.
last column, the one that's already been approved for this year. the
Right.
Yes.
10,000 for the duck derby.
Yes.
So you add that back in,
Mhm.
Yes.
right? So you're at 142 roughly.
Yes. So any other questions? If you would like for me to go through it anymore or talk about any of it or why I thought what I thought, I am happy to do that.
I guess the only question I have, and it's just a question, I like that you put the ones that have requested funds previously but did not turn anything in by the deadline. I'm more of a stickler, I guess, for people because especially ones that we have funded previously that we send stuff out about the deadlines. So I guess my question would be, and maybe it would be to the commission on how we want to handle people that do not make the deadlines that have previously requested unless there is a prevailing reason to even bring those back to even be considered for funding.
I would say with one of the groups in particular, they had a change in their executive director.
Okay.
And so even though they received the same email as everyone else, I
Well,
can
and to
see
me,
that
that
as
would be
being
a
a
prevailing
reason
reason
that
because
something fell through the
somebody new
cracks.
may not have known
Yes,
historically
the information could have
anything.
not been shared. I don't know.
Yeah. But yeah, if we could identify that, I'm just like, we put that in place for a reason. So, yeah. Mhm.
I think it's appropriate if you want to say if
Mhm.
your event or your application is turned in after
Right.
the deadline
Mhm.
and there's not a good reason, we
Yeah.
can deduct 10% or whatever, a small penalty to the amount of funding you would have given just to give people an incentive.
You're more gracious than me. I'm thinking if they don't have a prevailing reason,
I'm trying
they
to be
don't get
nice.
it, period.
Go back,
Yeah.
go back
All
to
this
your
time, I
room.
thought you were a nice young lady. But I don't see the truth.
Well, but the only issue I have is, it's kind of like me and Andy, when we're on city council, when you let one thing come through, you set a precedence. So if we keep letting these people come back and don't make the deadlines, then we're always going to be having them come back. And if somebody comes back, they can say, well, you let Joe Blow do it and they didn't meet the deadline. So definitely the situation where
it has changed as far as executive directors, because we all know in nonprofits and
Oh,
everything,
yeah.
people come and go and not all the information gets
Sure.
distributed to the right people. But I would think other than it being a circumstance to that, I mean, it's kind of like,
You already send applications out, haven't you? I mean, for the funding, so they don't do it by the deadline. Is there something we can send out as of January 1st?
I mean, I can update, but I mentioned before that I want to kind of update the guidelines
Okay.
more than I do on a year-to-year basis, just well, based on the lack of information that some of these applicants submitted this time. And the quality of, people will submit the application with the whole guideline packet attached. Like, I wrote that, I don't need to see it. I don't
Exactly.
need 8 copies of that, so, and that's not a big deal, but
So what
it's
is,
just
what is,
There also
frustrating.
needs to be a
So I can
timeframe.
include
What is-
something like that, whatever you all think is appropriate, I could include with that. So anyone that fills out the application going forward has at least been told that.
You
It's
also
okay,
need
it's
to
okay to have penalties for things that you don't do correctly. I mean, we all
Sure.
live through this in life, so.
which I think,
yeah, but
We
of
ran into
course,
this
these are people
before.
that just didn't fill out the application at all by the deadline.
Yeah.
And
That's-
they've
that's
been
not-
funded before, so, yeah.
So you do have some volunteers submitting these in some
Mhm.
cases.
Sure.
and that volunteers make the world go round, but it's not necessary, it's not always their strong suit, the person who's.
I mean, you know these people better than anybody.
Yeah, and I mean, I'm looking at
And-
one, we're talking $15,000 and they didn't even submit by the
That's who has the
deadline.
new.
Oh, that's what I was wondering, if
Uh-huh.
that's who has the new one.
We
They
have,
do.
we have the same problem though, submit your expenses for reimbursement.
yes.
Well, yeah,
So,
Yeah.
yeah,
there has to be a timeline on
It's
that.
like, well, what-
yeah.
right now,
There is.
you've got
Supposed to
money, you've got money sitting out there.
Yeah,
that you're
and I
not
mean,
even
I'm the
collecting.
same with that. They get the information, tell them when they have to have it. If they don't get
And
it
we-
within a timely manner, you're out of
We have
luck.
denied before
Yeah.
because they
Oh,
turned
yeah.
in receipts so
Like a
late.
year
It
Yeah.
doesn't happen that often.
No.
Yeah.
Because we try to
Just a
be,
few.
you know, it's
Mhm.
But folks will
city
surprise
money,
you
so
with
I
their
try to
ability
be
resist
fair, but
instruction.
Yes, they will. Shakespeare is, they're wanting to come back, yes?
yes, they have a new executive director.
Yeah, and I'm
And
fine
I
with
don't
that,
know
yeah.
when that transition happened. And so I don't know if the new person wasn't told about
Right.
it or,
Yeah,
you know, I don't know
yeah.
how that happened, but
So would that only apply to people that have already been approved for funds?
so there are other organizations that are not on this spreadsheet that have, you know, maybe applied for funding in the past but didn't last year. And so I take them off just to keep the clutter out.
So we would still take applications outside of the funding period?
I mean, yes, we always have.
Yeah, typically if it's like a new event or one that hasn't typically happened, because I mean, it's like anything else. You know, if some opportunity comes open that they didn't know about prior to the funding period, that's
Okay.
different, yeah. I was just referring to the ones who are on the list that have historically been funded and been approved that didn't even submit the application by the deadline. But definitely the new director, I can definitely, yeah.
Sure.
I think if we can communicate that being the exception to the process is the harder path
Mm-hmm.
than abiding by the
Mm-hmm.
process, and you're not guaranteed audience with the commission.
Mm-mm.
You know, it's like you may get direction from Rachel on, that's great, and next year,
Mm-hmm.
you know, we'll be
Yeah.
ready. Or, you know, but if the event's particularly compelling, I mean, we've historically brought those before the commission and said, hey, here's an opportunity that came up on short-ish notice, because it is different if your
Yeah.
event is in January
Mhm.
versus your event being in December. That deadline affects you differently. So,
Sure.
That's just me personally, so.
Any questions about any of the,
Yeah, those were the
Dollar
only
amounts?
ones, yeah.
okay,
Mhm.
anybody else? I know some of the UCA stuff,
Mhm.
which we actually heard about today,
Yeah,
it's hard to judge based on the amount of information submitted.
yeah.
So I have a feeling that a lot of the camp attendees are probably local, or at least local enough that they can drive in
I
for
would
the
think
camp
so.
every morning and then
Yeah.
leave. And I just don't,
Mhm.
I feel like I was being generous.
No, and I agree on those, yes.
Well, that's, if there are any more questions, first I'll get approval, and second for the budget that's in front. And then we can discuss about if we want to, you hate your word, penalize, but assess somebody a certain percentage if they don't get their application done on time. Since that was brought up.
Let's approve first.
Yeah.
Let's approve or deny first, and then move on to.
Sure. That's why I said I need a motion, sorry.
Yeah, I'll make a motion for the 2024 recommended budget for the funding.
I've got a motion from Sheila and a second from Mike. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you, Rachel.
Yes, Rachel and I did work together on changing the numbers on
Yes, on the budget,
budget to match.
the overall budget. Your 2024 working budget.
Now, before we get to that, do we want to continue conversation? Or do we want to?
I would say we need to address it.
Okay.
In some form or fashion. Because I'm kind of like Sheila, if you don't get it in on time.
Not your schoolwork.
Well, it is. But sometimes those teachers give you 70% credit or 80% credit if you turn it in a day late.
Well, it's kind of like a job. If you do your job, then you get paid.
Well, and this is one thing we might want to address in some bylaws, if we have those, that if we have someone who has participated with us for a number of years, that there's a different, and they have a track record of bringing people to town. That maybe they get a little leniency rather than somebody on a first-time basis.
Could it be as simple as making it just one of the criteria? I mean, I know the deadline is the deadline, and then, you'd be within your rights to say, kick rocks. But you could put, timely, and address some of the other things that Rachel's brought up on timely, accurate, fully completed, is another issue, are all selection criteria, just like, and I mean, this is the difference.
Just like the quality of the event.
Yeah, and heads and beds and all that. I mean, this is really the difference of like a bold bullet point in there or not, but it does provide some equity when you talk about precedent. It's like, well, why did you accept this one? It's like, well, because it was on time and it was this. Well, it's like, well, this one came in late. You're like, yeah, and we put that in there too. The quality of the event was 5 of the 8 bullet points, and the timing hurt them here, here, and here. But it could go into, I mean, again, deadlines are deadlines, and everybody can say, but you can spell it out, and you just have to really be tough in how you look at people and tell them. So.
That's Rachel's job.
Yeah.
That's gonna say, I'll tell them.
Well, I
Don't have an issue.
Yeah, I don't have a problem telling them.
I'd be scared for you to tell them.
I can be very politically correct, can I?
Yes, you can.
Thank
You're
you.
a professional.
And you do have the event incentive that still exists for, I mean, sometimes tournaments come up on short order.
Yes.
That's not this.
Sure.
Yeah, I sent Charles a thing and said, I thought you were gonna be here for the meeting. He just said, I'm clear now, I can come back if y'all are still meeting.
That would be great.
I'd like for him to be here.
I say, come running.
right.
You wanna go over the budget, or that's part of the contract, isn't it?
Well, we can talk about other line items in it. And yes, Jill and I did work together on this. I sent her some projections on the things that I feel like are line items that I manage, just as part of my job, which would be advertising, travel, the event incentive, all-star games, funding requests, dues. Those are all kind of things that, well, I'm the one that's doing the spending from them, so, and, you know, agreeing to those contracts and whatnot, so.
And then I adjust the tax revenue and the interest income to reflect. Interest income this year, this year and next year for the CD especially. And then a huge check for the CD. And updated revenue. I left the postage and telephone, we already talked about that too, but I left the postage and telephone just how they were. And I know nothing's changed with our firm or with Bo for the audit, so I'll left it the same.
Jill, I know that you've got a CD in place, but on the bank accounts, do we have interest rates that are comparable to the CD number? Do you know that?
They're not comparable to the CD rate. Let's see.
I haven't looked at the bank statements.
And I'm not sure what rates are current or whatever as far as accounts go either. I know it probably wouldn't be equivalent to what a CD rate would be.
Much lower.
Mm-hmm.
It's not equivalent, but it's more if you ask.
Yeah.
I promise you.
Yeah, oh, yeah, yeah.
And it makes a big difference.
Yeah, it is.
They're not gonna give you, if you're used to just looking at it, cause
No.
we've looked at some things and it's made some big difference.
Yeah, yeah. I've been seeing 4.5 up to 5% on market. Yeah. We're not getting that. We need to be looking anywhere from like 4.2 up to about 5.25. Saw an RVS thing last night. I'm not saying them, but I just happened to see that on TV and realized if they're doing it, then other people are pretty close to that too, so.
I had one question while we're, I guess, talking, it's not really related to the budget, but I know you had mentioned earlier about some of the funding requests, you know, being turned in late after the deadline and stuff. Do we have any, I guess, checks and balances when people submit requests for funds, and when checks are cut, that those absolutely balance with each other? Or I guess I'm just trying to think of checks and balances with all that we're paying out.
Sure. I will send Jill this spreadsheet and then she works from that. So typically people submit their invoices for reimbursement directly to her, or their receipts to her. If they send them to me, I
And you
send them
to
directly
her.
to Jill, and she pays them based on the amounts on this spreadsheet.
So, and then you sign all of the checks, but do you check the invoices against the amount that the checks are
A
written
lot of times I
for?
do, yes, ma'am.
Okay,
I can't say 100%, but some will
Okay.
catch my eye going, that's weird. And I'll just kind of look at, now some will give you like 10 invoices. I don't go through theirs. I'm sorry, I don't have a calculator. Well,
yeah.
so, but yes, I do look if it's a one-off.
Okay.
Let's see.
Do you remember what the CD started off with when we changed, like 40 something?
I was like 4.4.
No, we're at
The,
400 and something, because it's up to 488. It's been like it's like a $20,000
It's, yeah,
this year. No, that's not this
So
month.
this month
This month.
on the collection.
Okay, so Looks like we got about $6,000 in interest this month
All right.
on collection.
Collections,
So multiply that times 12, it's roughly 72,000.
yeah. And then that's for the operating account.
7,600 on operating.
We've also got $1 million balances in both of them,
That's
so.
very true. I was ready for Andy to say we need to spend it.
All what we're running accounts for, we need to be spending money.
We're getting new lights.
Yeah. Yeah.
Do it. That's okay.
So considering the overall balance, I
Yeah.
mean, we're not getting what we're getting for the CD.
Right.
Any questions on the budget as presented?
I don't have any.
All right, I need a motion and a second for the 2024 Conway A&P Commission projected budget.
So moved.
Second.
I got a motion and a second from Sheila and Andy. All in favor, say aye. Any opposed? Thank you.
Okay, and then Charles, did you have any additional comments or questions
What are you talking about?
about the chamber contract?
I just got an email.
Yeah, and we sent that to everyone here because we were going over your email regarding the different sections. And that was the one that, well, that was the only one I know anything about.
Yeah, and as far as, yeah, the first item, we typically don't expend or pay any services until the contract is approved, so that would be, that one would be taken care of. So it was just number 2 and number 3. But what we were talking about is back in 22, we had an actual detail of basically who at the chamber, well, of course, Rachel, and then there are other people that support in other areas of the chamber that offer support as well.
Did I review that one, too?
Yes.
No, well, he didn't review our 22, you just reviewed the one for this year.
No, I reviewed that.
Yeah, but that was outlined in 22.
So is this a renewal or?
Yes.
Okay.
Mhm.
And I don't know how old maybe that language is in the termination for default. You know, I don't think that we put the remedy, you know, the curing period for any default. I don't know if that's standard in your other city contracts for services or.
Well, the only issue, question I had about that, and that's why I recommended that section 11 be changed, because not only I believe that's the better way to do it, it also would make section 11 consistent with section 14, the non-appropriation. I think your email to me addresses the concerns I had about section 3, or the questions, not concerns. And then section 1, that was self-evident to me.
Yeah, we don't need
If
to
anybody had any questions about that.
operate without an agreement. in
Right.
place, basically.
Just because it's expending public funds.
Sure.
So it looks like the only question is number 11 on the termination for default.
And I think I speak for the organization. I mean, the terms of this are somewhat subjective enough to where this would give, I mean, we're kind of doom casting there, but if something was so wrong that it was time to terminate,
Right.
I don't think it would be like, well, y'all need to market harder, or, you know, well, you didn't. So, you know, we waited two weeks for the visitor economy to change and it didn't, so you're fired. So, you know, I would just say, you know, go with whatever is best and most consistent within agreement based on your attorney. Now, we have an attorney now who may say, why did you do that? I'll say, because we're dealing with a public body and we're using their attorney. But like I said, I don't know the particular origin of that, and I can't believe it's a section that we're holding on to tightly to.
And it's just always, I know Sheila will probably back me up in this industry. I always recommend that clause for any contract that the city enters into. It's not required, it's just always my recommendation. Just because I'm the city's attorney. So.
Sure.
Makes it saner.
But section 3 is cleared up for me.
Mhm.
If that makes any.
You're okay.
Yes, sir.
Well, I was just gonna say, I mean, based on, Charles, I guess if there could be consistency, as he's saying, with number 11 in regards to, the non-appropriation on section 14, and I would think that hopefully the chamber's attorney would be fine with that as well, then I would say all is good.
Sheila, do you want to go ahead and specifically maybe stop it at that first comma? So without penalty upon any default by the chamber of any of the terms and conditions.
I think that's pretty plain, don't you, Charles? Okay, yeah.
Yeah, because under section 11, the commission could not appropriate for any reason.
Sure.
So if it can not appropriate, now that's where I saw it would be more consistent, because that non-appropriation is termination.
Yeah.
It feels.
Yeah.
Let's hope we never.
If you stop appropriating, we're gonna stop delivering.
You got something else to do.
So I would say with that, I would make a motion to enter into this agreement with the Convention and Visitors Bureau.
Second.
I got a motion and a second with the correctional number 11.
You're good.
And she-
You're good.
Are you asking me just in general?
Andy, he's real good, okay?
Always ask the attorney. Don't never step off in the pool.
Just double check it.
Ask the attorney.
I got, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? And once we get that revised, I'll sign. Any old business?
Just a reminder that we will be in this room again in December, and we will have the same code to get you in the door.
Yeah, motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Everybody have a happy Thanksgiving.
Y'all too.